they kind of start off all idealistic, and it's like people who are really interested in the technology for what it can build. Once they kind of like prove that this can work, then all the kind of more scammery type people, they get in on it because they're like, oh, I can get rich quick, I can get rich quick. And then you just have this like massive flood of all the get rich quick people. This whole Dave Portnoy thing is, I wouldn't even call it a top signal. It's like we've crested the hill now.
I want Portnoy to go on Unchained. I would love to watch Laura interview Dave Portnoy.
Not a dividend.
It's a tale of two clans.
Now, your losses are on someone else's balance sheet.
Generally speaking, airdrops are kind of pointless anyways.
Unnamed trading firms who are very involved.
I like that ETH is the ultimate Ponzi.
DeFi protocols are the antidote to this problem.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chopping Block. Every couple of weeks, the four of us get together and give the industry insider's perspective on the crypto topics of the day. So quick intros. First, we got Robert, the crypto connoisseur and czar of Superstate.
Good evening, everybody.
Next, we've got Tarun, the Giga Brain and Grand Poobah at Gauntlet.
Yo.
So today we've got a big get for the show. I'm sure you're all very excited. We've got Laura, who's the CEO. She runs Unchained Podcast. Huge guest. We've been trying to get her for a long time. She's finally agreed to come on the show. Laura, thanks for coming on.
I'm so lucky that I found a spot in my schedule to hop on here.
We are eternally grateful that you found time for us. Yeah. And I'm Haseeb, the head hype man at Dragonfly. We're early stage investors in crypto, but I want to caveat that nothing we say here is investment advice, legal advice, or even life advice. Please see choppingblocks.xyz for more disclosures. So it's been another week of crypto feeling very bad. And the latest thing that's been instigating us feeling bad. Oh, yeah, definitely been feeling bad. The latest thing that's been instigating the bad feeling is all these new launches that seem to be going quite poorly. So the big one that has been on everyone's radar is Berachain. So Berachain, for those of you who are not brain damaged by crypto, Berachain is a layer one that is bear themed. And they're notorious for a few things. One, for having a lot of bears. Two, there's a group called the Berachain, which are affiliated with Berachain, and they throw really dope parties.
I love that. That's the second thing you say.
Laura told me in the pre-show. Laura told me that she's familiar with the Berachain. Laura, do you want to explain for the audience what Berachain are?
No, because I told you that I'm not familiar. I told you.
No, you told me you do. You told me you were familiar.
No, I saw something about it on Twitter, and I was like, I don't think I want to know what this is. So I just clicked out, and I was like, there's plenty more for me to discover in crypto. This is not one of the things I will choose to spend my time on.
Yeah, full disclosure, Robot Ventures investors in Bera. But I am unfamiliar with the Bera baddies. It sounds
Wait, really?
Yeah.
All right,
Tarun, please.
My brief impression was, is it like OnlyFans on Berachain? Something like that?
Okay, let's put it this way. Let me put it in boomer terms that everyone on this podcast who's over 30 will agree on, which is it's like the Gen Z version of groupies.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't
They're
even
like
know what
deadheads,
is.
but for Berachain.
I assume this was more like Instagram than
but
OnlyFans,
female,
just based on the name.
It's like influencers kind of who like represent the brand by having parties and being on jet skis and taking pictures.
Yes. It's hot girls who like Berachain. That's the idea. But they wear these bear masks to kind of obscure their identities for whatever reason. That's part of the vibe of Berachain.
No, for good reasons.
So to be clear, so the main innovation of Berachain is this thing called proof of liquidity, which is a consensus mechanism where basically when you're staking on Berachain, you're also providing liquidity that can be sourced from various protocols that are on the chain. It's a Cosmos SDK based EVM chain. So they launched their mainnet relatively recently and launched their token. And the initial expectations were the token was going to be valued somewhere in the range of 8 to 10 billion. That's where it initially came out at. And the token has kind of bled down to the point where now fully diluted valuation for the token is about 2.5 billion. Their last private round was 1.5 billion. And the sentiment against Berachain has been very, very negative if you look on crypto Twitter. Now, the source for this negative sentiment has been, in part, the amount of supply that is going toward VCs. So it's something like 35% of the supply is insiders. 35% of just being VCs alone, as well as some various accusations that, hey, this thing doesn't really work. The proof of liquidity is not even there yet. There's some issues with staking. There's this complicated triangle of different staking mechanics that are very difficult to understand. And just like it seems like most of the activity or most of the noises I'm seeing are mostly about like there's just too much infrastructure. Like, why do we need another infrastructure chain? And the market just seemed to have no appetite to digest another infrastructure story. So you guys are investors in Berachain. Curious to get your guys' response. How do you feel about this launch? And what do you feel like this launch portends for what's coming with the other infrastructure projects that are in the pipeline still?
Well, I'll just speak generally for a couple of meta statements here. One, Berachain's valuation is higher than that of Atom/Cosmos itself, right? So
come on, that's a low bar given how bad how horrible Coin Atom is.
You're talking about fully diluted valuation.
Yeah. Berachain's more valuable than Cosmos as a whole chain. Okay,
well,
so
Atom doesn't represent all of Cosmos, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fine, but when I think of like Cosmos, that's what I think of, right? So when we're talking about like relative valuation, I mean, I don't think it's doing badly. I think, first of all, it's worth more than Atom itself is, right? I do think that the Cosmos ecosystem has its own unique UX challenges, which I still think make it more challenging for most capital to access and most capital to interact with. I think we're still at that point. And I do think that it creates a little bit of a headwind for projects that are launching in Cosmos. The bigger point, though, is that it just feels like to me that this is like a flashback to, in some ways, like the last third of the ICO wave in 2017, which is, all the projects coming out, we're in a default mode of price go down after launch. And, this is related in a lot of ways to, I think, like watching Memecoin's half-lives go from like, a month to a week to like 3 days to 2 days to 1 day to 12 hours to 4 hours to 2
now
hours.
There's multiple Memecoin crashes in a single stream.
Yeah, in a single stream. Yes. We know Tarun was made an honorary member of the LA Vape Cabal, and now he's really
I'm going on next week. I'm going on a stream next week.
Yeah, but this just feels like a moment in time in which like there's more supply than demand, right? And you can see that in Berachain, you can see that in all of the other launches that are happening. Everything that's coming out, there's just more supply than there are buyers. And it's leading to weak price action across the board. And that's just an objective reality.
So you think it's a meta thing? You don't think it's specific to
No, I don't think it's specific to Berachain at all. I think it's just a function of like where we are in the cycle. And
I have to disagree. I feel like, so if I think about kind of the reputation that Berachain had, like over the past year, it was very community oriented. This whole kind of like, they're all about the culture and, they have the best parties and like, they just had a lot of buzz that made it feel super community oriented. And then this kind of launch where there's so much for insiders, just the way that the distribution is, it's not something that feels as community oriented as the actual reputation is. So it feels like there's this like sort of mismatch of this feeling like, oh, it's like more organic, it's more grassroots or whatever. And then like, now that, everything's come out, and I saw some of the complaints about the staking were that like, people didn't really know about it. And it just felt like it was like something for the investors to know about and the investors to take advantage of, but like everyday people couldn't. So like, I think there were like multiple things. There were probably like certain expectations about like what type of launch it would be. And then when they saw actually this is what it is, it felt like, oh, it's like way more weighted to insiders and not the community. And, I also saw like Arthur's tweet about how everybody should have been working to have the launch at a good price because the chart, just from launch was going down.
Launch at a lower price.
Yeah, exactly. To launch it at a lower price. And it reminds me of how when Olaf came on the show last year, Olaf Carlson, he said something like, what you want for any coin is to distribute it to the widest number of people possible. That will help the distribution. But in this way, when like 35% goes to insiders, like that is, I think, what caused the outrage.
Tarun, what's your take?
I guess it's ironic you mentioned Olaf since he led one of the rounds, but
maybe he didn't have final say on the distribution.
No, I don't. I think most VCs have almost no say in the distribution. I feel like the teams are the ones who are creating the structures for these, and everyone's along for the ride.
I mean,
for better or for
sometimes
worse.
sometimes it's not even the teams, right? Sometimes it's the foundation.
Yeah.
But yes. But anyway, I think like it's kind of hard to launch something where you're launching a lot of stuff at the same time, and I think maybe that's sort of one aspect that I think people commenting on is probably reasonable. Like it is complicated, and there's 500 different things you can do on day one. On the other hand, I sort of think like maybe we're just like Trump, the meme coin, kind of like killed every community in crypto. Melania, in particular, killed every community notion of community in crypto, and I feel like that to me feels like the the Dentacoin of this cycle. It's like the thing that like is so absurd that it just like to Robert's point about the end of the ICO boom. It really Melania is the Dentacoin of this current era, and like I think the malaise is not just infrastructure. I think it's like everything has really just taken a beating since then, because I don't know, it just everything felt sort of cheapened, and I don't know what else to say. Like somehow I think the macro stuff, like I agree, sure they could have had a better launch in different ways, maybe they had different distribution, something and change. But I actually think like even then, even as a lower price, I just don't think it would have rallied. I just feel like the current market is this like bloodbath right now.
I think there's something also about the way in which Berachain positioned itself, right? So Berachain, although there's a Robert, you mentioned the Cosmos SDK, they never really positioned themselves as a Cosmos ecosystem play. Like, I know that they're Cosmos based, but I would guess most people don't even know that they use Cosmos SDK because that's not how they're branding themselves. They're not trying to affiliate with the Cosmos folks. Like, I think the main thing that has been the Berachain story is the vibes, right? They like kind of ran
The
on
baddies.
the mimetic energy, the baddies, the parties, the craziness of like, oh, the guy wearing the mask, and like, okay, who, they're just kind of they're running on the energy of the social community they were building, and the kind of basically the brand of the founders, and the social energy that they were able to build as a community. And so it doesn't feel like, they were talking about proof of liquidity and trying to explain why it's such a big innovation. And one of the things that some of the co-founding team were saying, they're like, hey, what I think we could have done better of not having this launch be such a stumble is explain proof of liquidity better. And, I know what proof of liquidity is because I'm a VC. I'm in this space for quite a while, and I care about things like this. But most people have no idea what Berachain was doing different. I think most people just know that Berachain was a kind of it was a party. They had the best parties, and like the Berachain social scene was just this continuous party. And if your positioning is that we're the most fun place to be, when the music stops and it's not fun anymore to be in crypto, then it's like, oh, okay, well, what is proof of liquidity? Why should I care about this? Like, what exactly is it about this that's innovative, is going to keep people around? And it feels like they, in a way, that's what crypto was really rewarding for the last year, with the meme coin frenzy, and with every alts really having this kind of bifurcation between boring crypto and fun crypto. Is that okay? Berachain was like max fun crypto, but right now no one's in the mood to have fun. And when no one's in the mood to have fun, I think like it really kind of weakens the resonance of what Berachain was going for.
I mean, I'm in the mood to have fun. Bitcoin is still $95,000, right? Like compare that to a year ago, right? Ether compared to a year ago of whatever. Sol compared to a year ago is pretty good. Bitcoin's $95,000. Like, I don't know why everyone is like sweating this. Like, it's like a horrific.
I mean, if you only own Bitcoin, then yes, you're feeling great.
Yeah.
Like, that is not Robert, our audience.
Like, basically, because you're an OG, that's why you can say that. But people who entered in the last like year and call it 4 or 5 months, they are hurting. That's why sentiment is bad. Like so everybody's like, why is sentiment bad?
What a shocker that like fart coin and like, the dumbest stuff is not doing well. Like, oh my goodness, they deserve to get so rich because they bought, fart memes. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't matter. Like, what I'm trying to say is just like people who entered in that last, recent tranche, I guess you could call it, like they're all down bad. That's why sentiment on crypto Twitter is bad, even though if you're looking at the most important coins, like you wouldn't necessarily be like, this sentiment makes sense. It just makes sense if you look at kind of like who's been participating. And then you realize like, yeah, they all got wrecked. Like the only people who didn't get wrecked were the people that were launching that. I mean, I know later we plan to talk about like the Dave Portnoys of the world, but those people, they were exploiting their followers, or whatever you want to call it, and they made off well, but retail did not. And in my opinion, it's kind of disgusting to watch. But anyway, that I was just trying to say, you have been around long enough, so you're like chilling. You've got like your sunglasses. You're like, this is great. And people who are, I just mean you're feeling good, like you're feeling, whatever. You're chilling. But yeah, people who are newer, they're not.
I think on some level, you sort of can't argue with the sentiment, right? You can't tell people like, oh, you're wrong because Bitcoin's at 95K.
That's true.
Okay, well, if my portfolio was just Bitcoin, I'd feel good. But I don't just own Bitcoin, right? If you just own Bitcoin, what is there to talk about on Twitter? Like you're not there. You own Bitcoin and you fucked off, and like that's great. I think that clearly that was the move. But at this point, everything is down. Like Solana's down from the high. Solana's down like 30% from the high.
Yeah, from the high, it's down like maybe 30%, maybe a little less. But it's like, but also look where it was a year ago. I mean, like it's up so much.
To be clear, March of 2024, Solana was at $200. Right now, it's below $200. Right now, it's at $195. So Solana from not 12 months ago, but from 11 months ago, flat.
What about from 12 months ago?
Okay, yes, from 12 months ago, it's up. But my point is that like these are
it's
not
up like 60% or something ish.
From
right?
So if you go back February, right? If you remember, like that was before the ETH ETF launched. So we were still like kind of in this middling period between the Bitcoin ETF and the Ethereum ETF. Alts hadn't started rallying at that point. But once the ETH ETF launched, then alts started rallying. Solana hit $200 during March of last year. So the point is that clearly there's a disconnect going on right now between, I think, the fundamentals of crypto and the price action and the sentiment. Like that seems really obvious. And like almost everybody I think
it's pretty easy. I think it's pretty easy to blame our president for that. But that's just my own personal view.
I agree.
Wait,
I agree, right? And it's like partially macro,
Melania
partially meme coins. Not just Melania, also the trade war and all the other shit that's obviously rallying.
I feel like a lot of
macro.
it. I feel that's it. Yeah, I feel like that's what's causing this dislocation.
Yeah,
no,
but it's surprising. I mean, like we got ostensibly the industry got what it wanted, which is a very pro-market, pro-libertarian, anti-regulation, pro-crypto presidency, and everything's down. Like everything's literally down from the Biden administration.
Well,
besides Bitcoin.
Besides Bitcoin, again, I just looked this up. 1 year ago, Sol was about half its current price. Yes, it had a crazy
11 months
February.
Ago. 11 months ago, it was above the current price.
Correct. But I'm just saying, if you look back exactly 1 year, Bitcoin is way up. Sol is way up. Like a lot of the major-ish stuff is way up, right? It's been a really good year. Like in the aggregate, it has been a good year for the majority of crypto assets.
Let's talk about so Laura was talking about some of the extraction that is going on in this cycle. And one of the big stories has been, so Kanye West, now known as Ye, he has been unleashed on Twitter. I don't know exactly what happened. I guess he was banned or unbanned or something.
I hope we don't let's not waste too many brain cells talking about
the
epic tweeting of,
okay, we're not going to talk about. Okay, so he's been completely unhinged and tweeting all sorts of Nazi, racist, weird shit. But one of the things that he tweeted, which got the crypto world talking, was that he basically screenshotted a tweet where somebody, or a DM, where somebody offered him $2 million to promote a rug pull meme coin, to basically post something, have it stay up for 8 hours, and then afterwards to claim that he was hacked. And so this is the first time anybody has ever seen this concept of a celebrity basically being bribed to pretend to get hacked to promote a meme coin. And this suddenly raised the question, so that we've seen this thing that, all these celebrities keep getting hacked, like, Wiz Khalifa or Caitlyn Jenner, they keep getting hacked and promoting these meme coins in their own name. And then, some number of hours later, the tweet gets deleted and the meme coin, quote unquote, collapses. And the speculation now is like, is this like a thing that people are now getting paid? Yeah, this is like a whole cabal. Like at this point, it's like an LA Hollywood cabal to pretend to get hacked and then to dump meme coins and split the earnings. Yeah. So there's now this kind of dark underbelly behind the meme coin economy that's starting to become more and more apparent to people. Robert, what's your reaction to this?
My reaction is, I'm going to take yay at his word that he didn't just make this up, right? Like, I don't think that he has the motive to like make up that he was offered a bribe to pretend that he was hacked and rug pull his followers. Like, I'm going to take that at its word, right? So let's just assume that he is being, transparent and honest. That exact pattern matches, as you pointed out, so many celebrity rug pull coins over the last year. And if those celebrities were in fact paid to launch a coin and then later claim that they were hacked, A, it's dishonest on the part of the celebrities. B, it's like fraud, like actually, like to pretend to do this. And C, people should be livid at the con artists who convinced the celebrities to do this and who are probably the ones sniping those things, making all the money, and really screwing over the communities the most. And so if this is what's been happening, like, people should find those con artists and like get really mad at them,
Wow.
Yeah, and also the celebs. I mean,
Yeah.
the celebs are
Yeah.
like,
I mean, he's
I will
definitely a
lead my
Sahil
fans
type
to slaughter.
that's doing
Yeah,
this.
it's crazy. Like, come
Yeah.
on.
Wow.
Like, this
Yeah.
is like such bad behavior.
Robert is the Law and Order Memecoin meme lord.
I know. Never thought I'd live to see that day, right?
yeah. What, Tarun, are you okay with this? Are you like, yeah, let them eat tokens?
I'll say I like to listen to how non-crypto people talk about crypto by listening to other podcasts. And I listen to, Planet Money usually, and The Economist are both places where they're very derisive towards crypto and think it's stupid, right, historically. And both of them had episodes on meme coins, obviously, thanks to our president. And basically, they're just like, I think like they're having trouble explaining it. Like, they're having trouble explaining the celebrity coins to this audience of people who've never heard of it. It's like almost this level of incredulity that they're like, isn't this illegal? Well, I guess everything is illegal. And like, they're saying this on Planet Money or like more buttoned up kind of normal podcasts. And so I feel like it's a virus or something that's like spread beyond the realm of crypto. I think this is just coming to this thing where like society in general has like gone all in on gambling. So like the themes of the way that it's explained in sort of the normal media of like what meme coins are is like, they're like, this is what happens when you make sports betting legal. This is the extreme version of that.
That's
like
the
everyone
story?
wants to gamble. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. You should actually listen to how these things are covered, because it will teach you the disconnect between what crypto is perceived as versus what we think it looks like. And I would say like that is actually the main story that seems to people keep kind of giving is like, oh, well, once we went down the slippery slope of like everything being gambling, like now financial assets have no meaning anymore. There's also like a Matt Levine podcast where it's like very similar, like it's converged to this narrative of like, we open the Pandora's box of gambling and meme coins are the natural end state.
Do you agree
And
with that?
so I don't know if I agree with it, but I do agree with the idea that, yeah, these celebrity coins are obviously unethical, but I don't know what are you supposed to do in a trustless, decentralized thing? Like, you can't really stop
But I mean,
it.
this is not a trustless, decentralized environment, right? There's like very clear rules if you are Caitlyn Jenner about what you're allowed and not allowed to do in terms of advocating financial investments to your Twitter followers.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but like the way people are covering it is they're just like, well, if we make every type of gambling legal, then this just seems like the natural endpoint. And I don't know. I don't have a good retort. I don't have a good retort to that.
Hold on, Tarun.
Personally.
Gambling is something where there's uncertainty, okay? But it's like generally probably fair, okay? This is not fair, right? This is pretty much a scam taking advantage of everyone who participates. It's like, so it's not gambling if I go to the casino, I'm guaranteed to lose, right?
So
that's not gambling.
One kind of weird thing that I was talking with to someone about yesterday was there was this meme coin that this president of the Central African Republic launched, and it was kind of ridiculous when you looked at it on the surface. But this meme coin, I was talking to someone who everyone I think in this podcast knows and has been in crypto for a long time. spent a lot of money on, and upon losing all the money was like, well, you know what? I got to say I got rugged by the Central African Republic president. It's like they gained some positive entertainment value from losing money, which is something kind of weird. I don't understand it. Like, it very much hurts my brain to have to reason about that.
To be clear, I think gambling addicts also have this phenomenon where they're like, oh yeah, I had this crazy night of playing blackjack. It was so crazy.
It was wild, man.
I lost $200,000. It was so wild. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is not an alien phenomenon to people who are familiar with the gambling industry. Like, yeah, if people feel terrible when they're losing money, then you fucked up building a casino, right? The whole idea is that people are supposed to feel good as they're losing money, because most people are losing money because that's how casinos work. So I think on some level, like, yeah, that means that the meme coin complex is still working because people are enjoying losing money. When people get rugged by Caitlyn Jenner or by, Sahil disguised as Caitlyn Jenner or whatever it is, that I think is, people feel terrible about that. People feel like this is bullshit and the SEC needs to come in and protect us. And to be clear, this is exactly the kind of thing that the SEC should be going after under anybody's definition of what a regulator should be doing, is going after outright fraud.
Correct, but they were going after exchanges and good actors under the last administration.
Yeah, but they've said very clearly, like, look, our mandate now is to go after fraud. If there's no allegation of fraud, we're de-emphasizing those particular kinds of investigations and or enforcement actions, right? Which is a step absolutely in the right direction, because there is a lot of fraud in this space, as there is in any financial market. And I think you need a strong cop on the beat and eyes and ears in different places to be able to police that. If this stuff is real, and to be clear, we have no fucking idea if it could very well be the other way, that people, just normal celebrities, get hacked all the time, and somebody hacks somebody. The easiest way to monetize that, it used to be this, you guys remember back in the day, in the previous cycle, it was I'll send you one Bitcoin.
Send me one ETH, I'll send you two.
Send you one ETH, I'll send you two. Right, exactly. That was like the way in which you monetized.
To be fair,
3 years ago.
To be fair, the World Liberty financial thing, where they're like, if you buy 5 million of our coin, we'll buy 10 million of yours, is exactly the same.
Kind of.
It's like kind of
the same.
I was thinking about that, and I was like a little depressed when I thought about that fact.
Is that the same? It's not the same. No, that's not the same. That's definitely not the same.
It's a higher scale of the same.
It's a cousin.
It's a cousin. Yeah.
It's loosely related. It's loosely related. But like, it does make sense that, like, okay, now the best way to monetize if you hack somebody's account is to launch a meme coin in their name, right? Like, just reliably, we can see obviously very clearly that's a very good way to monetize a hack. So it could well be that this is just, somebody sees that this happens all the time, and they are like, hey, maybe I could try a hustle of like convincing celebrities to do this thing, and maybe nobody took them up on it. That's also possible. So we don't know. Somebody needs to go investigate and figure out, is this what's happening with all these celebrity accounts that are launching meme coins, or is it are they innocent, right? Are they just innocent victims of people hacking and just doing what they do now? I think it's a sign of the times that there's a story now about David Portnoy, who's the founder of Barstool Sports, and he has been creating meme coins and just launching them kind of nonstop on his audience, and he's got a very, very large following. And he's almost doing it in a very different way. So, we've criticized before some of the meme coin launches, like the one by the Runway founder, I think Sichi, and then there was what was the one? Sam Lesson.
The Sam Lesson one.
Right.
That to me is worse than Portnoy. Below
kind of
Portnoy.
mainstream names launching meme coins, and it's even kind of cringy. But Portnoy, I think, has been unique because of just how almost willful he seems to be of his audience. And he basically tells people, like, look, you crypto people are fucking morons. Like, if you buy this coin, you will lose money. And then when he basically buys the coins, announces them to his audience, and dumps them immediately. And it's just like, yeah, I told you guys. Like, why are you complaining? Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna do it again. And then he does it again. And then it's just been this kind of like pure, nature red and tooth and claw. Fuck you. Like, if you're playing in this meme coin deep end of the pool, why are you complaining? I'm telling you guys what I'm doing in advance, and then I'm doing it. Suck it up. It feels like we've kind of entered into a different, like, I don't know, like this. I don't feel like this could have happened a year ago.
No,
but we're kind of at this point now.
Yeah,
this is pure jungle. This is pure jungle. This is like late stage capitalism of meme coins.
Yeah. And he's like, listen, this is the jungle. I'm in the jungle. You're in the jungle. So let's have fun. Rumble in the jungle.
It's only fun for him. So you guys are going to laugh. I do not know who this person is. I do not
Really?
even know what Barstool Sports is.
Really?
The only times I have even come across
This
this person
very
is all in
male-centric
relation to
media.
crypto.
Really?
And oh yeah. And I
What?
have the worst impression of this person based on all his, because what was it like years ago, he bought like Bitcoin and then he sold it at a loss. I mean, he seems like an idiot to me, you know?
But
like
his entire persona is being a public idiot. That's like kind of the weird thing. Like he gained
He's
this
like an
following.
everyman. Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's why I'm just like, oh my God, you're so stupid. And you are publicly out there, like just showing everybody how stupid you are. And I'm like, why? Like, why you're
Laura,
why are
don't
you...
watch any Memecoin streams, please, for your
Yeah,
mental
no,
health.
I clearly won't. But the thing is, like, yeah, I think what he was doing to his fans is just awful. It's like, wow, these people like you or they follow you. And like, why are you like doing such an awful thing to them and like bragging about, I don't know. It's just super distasteful in my opinion.
But the followers themselves, I don't understand. This is like some type of like influencer BDSM. Like you're just like enjoying the pain.
It's basically, it's like financial domination, but as like a consensual in public thing that's going on.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Strange.
It's very weird.
But I mean, but what is Trump coin? You know, is Trump coin really that different?
No,
no,
you're not
clearly
wrong.
not.
Like that's what there's nothing
just faster.
positive
It's just
to be said
faster.
here. There's just nothing positive to be said here, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, to be clear, I think there's very few people who could do this. I think Dave Portnoy is one of the people who could do this, but he can't do this forever, right? You can probably do this like 3-4 times and then it just stops working, right? Like people just don't buy your coin. So, but that's the thing is like, what he's doing fraud? Probably not, right? I mean,
didn't
being
Hester
very
Pierce
clear.
say? Didn't Hester Pierce say that this is like out of their jurisdiction?
Yeah, I don't think
today?
this is fraud because he's saying, like, Matt Levine had a great summary of this, right? Where, you know, he obviously loves talking about things in this world. He was like, this is not like the people that got in trouble for social media posting previously for stock manipulation, where they were like, I'm buying this, and then dumping on you after they say I'm buying this. They're, you know, Matt Levine's view, which I agree with, is like Dave Portnoy is saying only truthful things to your face in the jungle. He's saying, I just bought this. I am going to sell this shortly. Have fun. And like, those things are true. He just bought it and he's going to sell it shortly. And like, you have the full disclosure, you know, right there in front of you saying like, I'm going to dump this on you immediately. And
yeah, actually, wait, I just realized something. Okay, so I do consider him, if I were to rank people in crypto, like definitely he's toward the bottom, no question. However, I just realized he maybe is like a millimeter above like Jim Cramer, who Jim Cramer like pretends like he is, you know, bullish this or that, and like he really believes it, but like he must know that everything he promotes, the second he promotes it, it's going to go down. Like he has to know that, because like by the time he's getting to the place where he's going to say something, like all the people that are like more on the inside or in the know, they're already in on it. And then he must know that he's like, you know, Elon Musk on SNL, that moment where like Doge like reached its peak and then just crashed after that. Like that's what Jim Cramer does, but he does it like every day. So in that sense, like at least Dave Portnoy is like honest about it, whereas Jim Cramer, it's more deceptive. Like he never lets on to his audience, like, I know that this is going to crash on you.
No, he doesn't know it's going to crash. If Jim Cramer knew that these stocks were going to crash, or these stocks, after he says they suck, are going to go up, he would be the world's richest hedge fund manager, period. The whole thing is that like we all get to laugh at how bad of a forecaster Jim Cramer is, because every time he says, time to buy this, it goes down. And every time he says, this is a dog, get rid of it, it goes up.
Well,
like,
but wait. But I think, actually, this is what I think is happening. When Jim Cramer says something is a good investment, what traders know is that he's that moment when he does that, he has the widest audience. So the traders know that this is their moment to sell. That's what I'm saying. So like he knows that he's like telling everybody at what's going to be the peak. That's what I'm saying. Do you understand? Like he must have seen this play out so many times that he must know the second he says it, That's when it gets the widest dissemination.
I don't think it's causation.
I think you're making this sound like deterministic, and it's not deterministic. It is still a probabilistic thing. Like someone is taking risk.
I think he's just a notoriously bad forecaster.
Yeah,
and
I think the biggest thing is that like the wave of sentiment about any trend, Jim Cramer is the last person to feel the wave.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. He's the last step in that wave, but like from his perception, the waves are all real. You know, like he's like, oh, everyone's doing this, and I'm like, oh, I'll also do this, and he's literally the last dude, and there's no one after him.
Right, and that's why. And assets ripped, and he's like, this is a winner, buy it, right at the time. And assets going down, and he's like, this is a dog, sell it. You know.
Well, that's why I'm saying. So I still maintain my hierarchy.
It's kind of a joke. It's kind of a joke. Like it's not literally true that everything he says that about goes down. Otherwise, again, would be the best. No, actually not, because that again, you could just raise a hedge fund and like make infinite money by just literally shorting everything that he is bullish about every day, and you can't do that.
Well, still,
by the way, the inverse Cramer ETF was shuttered. Okay, so
that is true. I thought that was hilarious. But these inverse ETFs are all kind of scams because they can't rebalance daily. Like,
I know.
The inverse ETFs are the TradFi equivalent of meme coins dumping on your face. They're like such shitty products. I could go on for hours.
Agreed, but
they're like boomers who want to buy meme coins. They buy inverse ETF.
Correct, but did
they have bad performance?
They basically don't track their index very well, and like when they rebalance, they overcorrect, and you're paying fees to like do worse than the benchmark.
No, but Short Jim did not do well. Okay, like there was an actual ETF that was devoted to doing the opposite of what Jim Cramer said because of the jokes that like it always does the opposite of what Jim Cramer is saying, and the ETF didn't do well, and then it shuttered like recently, and so like when you actually put money on this,
bring it back to crypto.
Can I just ask you guys though? Like, you guys agree with me that Jim Cramer still would rank a little bit higher than Dave Portnoy in terms of like how bad he is for his followers?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if I can compare them.
If you assume, if you assume like what we just said,
Portnoy is worse.
Yeah, if we just said like Jim Cramer is just noise.
Okay, so I agree in a like if I don't weight the bad decisions by money, but I kind of think Cramer controls old people's retirement accounts much more than Portnoy. Portnoy is like 19-year-old boys like trading, right?
Solana meme coin trenches.
Yeah. So I guess it's like which victim do you feel more empathy for?
That's the thing. Jim Cramer is not making a bunch of money from just being like a CNBC anchor. You know, like that's not a tremendously lucrative gig the way that Dave Portnoy. Dave Portnoy is just directly ripping off his followers. Like it's a very different game. Like if he was up there on CNBC talking about like, hey, buy my multivitamins. Okay, then I would say like, all right, maybe it's an even comparison. But he's just really honestly running a fucking finance show, right? Like I think it's just
an entertainment
show. He's a convenient idiot. Yeah, it's funny. It's a joke.
Yeah, it's like the whole point of the show is he's up there screaming and having fun and making something extremely boring, which is the random walk of stock prices stochastically doing stuff, into something super fun to watch. You know, he has loud horns and buzzers and like all this.
I know, but to Tarun's point, he does have a real impact on people's money. They take his advice and they lose money based on following him. So I
mean, they lose money based on following anyone. Like you're just paying transaction fees to do random stuff.
I totally agree with Haseeb. Just the churn of active trading eats most people up.
Yes.
No matter what their strategy is. It's like,
if you buy random stocks on TV, you're just noise trading. Like you're
exactly.
just, like that's just how it is.
I don't disagree. I was just sort of saying like, where's all this Portnoy money? It's like 19 to 25-year-old males, right?
Yeah,
like
I completely agree. And like that's the thing is that like Dave Portnoy's audience, it's not random. When you buy a Dave Portnoy meme coin, what happens to you? He is
disclosing being a FinDom, as we're discussed earlier.
Exactly. Look that up if you're curious what that means. Okay, all right. Let's change gears a little bit. So one of the big energetic arguments that comes back again and again, and we revisit on the show every once in a while, is the ETH Sol debate. So Right now, of course, Ethereum has been getting its ass kicked. We talked about it on a previous show about
from a price
the
perspective,
crisis and civil war. Well, not just price perspective, but also sentiment, right? Like you see the whole civil war going on within Ethereum, the uncertainty about Vitalik's role, about the Ethereum Foundation, and then, of course, about the roll-up centric roadmap. So there was a quote by Chao Wang, who's one of the co-founders of Alliance DAO, that has gone viral. And the quote was on the Good Game podcast. He said at one point, so he runs an incubator. So he talks to a lot of early stage founders who are kind of pre-seed stage, building new, mostly consumer apps that they tend to incubate. And what he said was, it's irresponsible for me to recommend founders to not build on Solana. Like, that's how strong the evidence is. Basically saying that all these different applications that people are building on different apps, they try to build it on Ethereum and it just doesn't work. No users, no traction, no nothing. They build it on Solana, and then all of a sudden, boom, thing takes off like wildfire. And he basically is implying that he's seen that so many times that now it's irresponsible for him to not recommend that founders build on Solana. So this has triggered a wave of just back and forth spats from Ethereum people and Solana people going back and forth about whether or not this is true. And it came to a head with a back and forth about Camino, which is a lending protocol on Solana. And Anatoly, in the comments talking about this thing, ended up admitting, or not admitting, but I guess just saying that because of his position, he does not trade at all on chain. He says, every once in a while, I'll do a USDC $1 swap to test the latest priority fee pricing. And this, again, caused another firestorm of, oh my God, how can you be bullish on a chain where the founder doesn't even use it? There's no dog fooding. Like, what does that tell you? And of course, I think it's also well known that Vitalik doesn't do a lot on chain besides, occasionally sell his ether or borrow against it.
Or sell all the meme coins he gets airdrop.
Or donate the meme coins that he receives in airdrops. Although Vitalik, notably he did send donations using Tornado Cash and a bunch of other stuff. So Vitalik is at various levels of activation, but people have criticized the Ethereum Foundation for not being active users of DeFi or
I mean,
to
Vitalik's credit, I think he kind of used Ethereum a lot. Then he got in a lot of shit during the ICO boom because people were like, oh, you have all these, everyone was airdropping him and effectively, and like it was kind of this weird thing. So then he was like trying to not use stuff because everyone was just like tracking his wallet. And so like there's some ebb and flow there. I don't think there's a static story as it's being told. So people are dynamic. Their chain usage is dynamic.
Yeah. I'm also like, I think the story is over. Like, who fucking cares that he trades or doesn't trade on chain? Like, he's an engineer. Like, he builds stuff. Like, he's not in the trenches trading meme coins. Why would he be? Like, that's not what why you build a chain, is because you want to be trading meme coins. Like, that's what traders want to do. That's not what people who are building technology necessarily want to do. So, like, I think, I think the dunking it's obviously going to happen because now there's this war that is just going to go on for years now between the ETH heads and the Solana heads. And I don't know, it feels kind of tired to me, but I think this whole thing about, one, I want to get your reactions to this Anatoly thing, but then also the Chao talking about this idea that it's irresponsible to not tell somebody who's starting from scratch that you should be building on Solana. How do you guys think about that?
I disagree if it's from the perspective of the first chain has to be Solana, right? I think Solana should be part of the strategy for anyone that's planning to be across multiple chains. If you're only planning to be on one chain for some strategic reason, I don't think it's irresponsible.
Wait, why do you say that? Because it seems like the opposite, right? Is that like basically Solana only homegrown apps tend to be successful, and for all of the multi-chain people have all failed to get any traction on Solana.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is, if you're only going to build on one chain, right, hypothetically, then there's a lot of choices. There's a lot of good choices. There's a lot of projects that have made homes on interesting chains and built out an audience, right? Like whether it's like Aerodrome on Base or like things on BSC or like there's so many places to go to differentiate yourself, right? There's like a lot of new L2s, a lot of new L1s, it's like there's a lot of places you can go. And if you're going one chain, I would say do not go to Solana. Like there's actually a lot of competition there. Just like I would say, like if you're only gonna do one chain, don't go to Ethereum. Like there's a lot of competition there. Like I think if you're gonna be a maxi, I don't agree with the logic that like it has to be Solana. Like totally disagree with that. I think if your plan is to be on multiple chains, there's no reason why you should ignore Solana, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be a part of your thinking.
But Solana is like very, like, you can't port your contracts, right? Because it's like its own
No, you have to write
island
unique.
of
No.
SVM. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that advocate for the opposite? Like, if you're going to go on one chain, then okay, bite the Solana bullet. If you're going to go multi-chain, just go EVM. Wouldn't that be the advice?
Sure.
I mean,
but like,
I don't know any project that goes multi-chain that also does SVM.
I'm going to stick to what I said last time when I talked about LA Vape Cabal. If your target audience is under 25, go to Solana. If your target audience is boomer millennials, go elsewhere.
There you go.
I think the ageist take is the real take, because everyone young does not like. I just don't think L2s are millennial.
So does that just mean meme coin? Like, what does that mean besides meme coins? So meme coins, okay, yes, that you want to target Gen Z.
I think even all these like weird consumer app clout type of things, right? Like the fact that everyone's trying these new friend tech being reinvented. Yeah, but they're more like social apps that happen to have.
I mean, to me, it's just meme coins is a different flavor. Come on.
Sure, but like they're consumer apps in that they're fully, you're vertically integrated into their app. You're not using Phantom, right? Like that's a different experience.
Sure,
I think I would separate these ones that are like meme coins with games or experiences that are separate from just like I'm buying this on Phantom, right? That there is a clear distinction between those.
Okay, so but those types besides meme coins, or
I mean perps trading, right? Like
you think perps trading should be on Solana?
Well, I mean, look at the empirical data says that, right? The empirical data says Hyperliquid and Solana, and then like EVM like last, right?
I mean, Hyperliquid is EVM. Hyperliquid is bridged through Arbitrum, and they launched their own EVM.
Hyperliquid right now is not EVM, right? Hyperliquid right now is like I'm trusting their centralized, based not totally centralized, but like their exchange.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like the EVM is not there. I can't deploy
Solana,
contracts.
right? Clearly, that's not Solana.
No, that's not Solana. But my point is, Hyperliquid and Solana are the main kind of perps venues. I don't consider Hyperliquid EVM yet. I consider it a centralized exchange that has an EVM bridge that is trying to add an EVM. It's EVM-esque, but it's not quite.
Sure.
But
is UIDX EVM? I mean, what about DYDX?
No, it's Cosmos chain now.
Sure. Okay. But so, I mean, what perp dex is EVM?
GMX. All the forks of it.
Like GMX is like the only one that's actually fully on.
It's the only one. Yeah, there were a bunch on base that launched that like kind of had like the usual high volume for like 2 weeks and then not much afterwards.
Right. But almost every perp chain that I see is like it's kind of an island, right? Like they sort of they may connect or bridge to something, but
yes,
they're not
Solana
processing things in EVM.
Solana perps are particularly good because all of the meme coin volume generates a ton of fees and people are constantly hedging. And so I think it has a higher floor than EVM perps, right? Like EVM perps experience is horrible. Like realistically, you go try using most EVM perps exchanges, they're just not good. Like I wish
when
I
you
could
say EVM perps, are you referring to GMX? Because like that's the only one that's actually on
and all of the nth derivatives, right? Like perp protocol. There's like 5 million of these. If you go on DeFi Llama, you'll find a ton of dead EVM perps. My point is any of them. I'm not saying Solana is better than Hyperliquid, right? Like user experience wise, Hyperliquid's probably number one, but Solana clearly is number two, right? And the rest of the EVM is last place. And so I think you have to think in those terms. And a lot of the reasons I think that is true is there's a second order effects of people trading meme coins, which generates fees in DeFi in different ways.
Totally.
And for those protocols, it's important. Sorry.
So I actually want to zoom out, and obviously through this show, we have been talking about how terrible all of us generally think meme coins are. I think like I'm just summarizing, but like I don't think any of us think this is like the pinnacle of what crypto can do. However, I think about how in previous cycles, people criticize the ICO in a similar way. Like they criticize NFTs, like every single cycle, whatever the new craze is, everybody dismisses it. They act like it's so stupid and silly. And like, why do we have this? And is it important? And it's not important and, blah, blah, blah. So like, I feel like what's happening now, like I personally feel like Ethereum is at a pretty existential moment. I'm just going to be super honest about it. And, the main things that I hear from Ethereum people are they dismiss Solana because they think meme coins are not important and it's just a silly thing. And like, that's all they have. And like, look, we have all this other stuff. But, the fact of the matter is that on really important metrics, things have swung in favor of Solana. Like they have more momentum when it comes to like attracting new developers, when it comes to just the fact that they were the center of this cycle's craze. Like that is meaningful. Those two things. That was the first time the new trend did not emerge on Ethereum, right? And Ethereum has really major issues. It's got like liquidity issues, fragmentation, obviously, because of Denku now, the price, like these are all important things. And I can't remember, I think I interviewed somebody recently. Oh, it might have been Chris Dixon, because I was trying to ask him about this for Ethereum. And he kept kind of like zooming into the future and getting philosophical and being like, oh, but, I want the category to win and, whatever. But and he kind of like was trying to say that price isn't important, but like obviously in a proof of stake system, it is important. And so I personally feel like the main things that Ethereum has going for it right now are the fact that a lot of people believe in it. And so they are actively trying to kind of turn the ship around. But I don't know, is it too late? Like things happen in crypto so fast, and I feel like Ethereum got caught flat-footed a little bit. Or part of it is because I do think, Vitalik, he's like, he wants to be the researcher. I don't think he wants to be the CEO type. Like he's not, just from the early days of Ethereum, he's definitely never wanted that. Like when they were all apportioning out titles, he picked the title C3PO for himself, and
what
and
a
so,
nerd.
Yeah. So like, I am really wondering, like, is it too late for Ethereum to catch up? Like, and I'm not trying to, I don't want people to think like, oh, Laura's, biased this or that way. It's more like, I am just wondering where are things going to go? And, one other piece of that is that, oh shoot, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, then I'll extend your train of thought.
Okay, go ahead.
Add the most vivid example of this, what I'll call Ethereum's bad business sense, right? When DeFi was growing in its infancy, right? Vitalik very publicly said, I hate DeFi, right? Like many times. He was like, I don't think this is an interesting use case.
In different words, but
in different words.
Yeah.
Like for a long time, like, there was a whole mob like in this like Ethereum leadership pivot situation over the last couple of weeks where people got him to use DeFi for the first time in 2024, 2025. Like, because he hated DeFi. Like, honestly, he was like, this is not a good use case for the blockchain. Like, I believe that the blockchain
that's not totally true. He did use Maker quite a bit. Actually, if you go to the the 2018,
Rye, he was super into Rye.
He was into Rye.
He was one of the earliest
Uniswap.
Minters.
He like created the fucking Uniswap invariant.
Yeah. I think, but I what Robert's really getting at is like once these things were successful and there's lots of speculative activity.
Yeah,
then he would be like,
I think DeFi Summer he hated because of all the speculative food coin farming, recursive nonsense.
He was hating on DeFi, and most other, we'll call it chain leadership, would have been like, oh my God, something is popping off on our chain. Like, is this the future? Yes, it's the future, right? And I just think there's like examples where like Ethereum itself has been like hostile to the things that are working.
So I want to push back a little bit on this. I think it's obviously true on a face level that like, yes, and this is part of the criticism of the EF is that they haven't embraced DeFi and they don't really realize that this is the strategic strength of Ethereum today. That being said, if you look at the meme coin stuff that's been happening on Solana, you can see very clearly now that both Anatoly and Raj and the Solana Foundation have gotten more combative in defending meme coin activity and saying like, look, we're making real money. There's real revenue. We've got, Trump token. We've got all this stuff. Like we're the real deal. And that's why we're better than Ethereum. Right? They were not doing that 6 months ago. 6 months ago, what you mostly saw about meme coins was they were mostly quiet. They didn't really talk about it much. They were mostly talking about, oh, we've got a lot of adoption, we've got a lot of scale, we've got a lot of users, there's a lot of demands on the network, but they weren't like, yeah, meme coin trading is great and like the trenches are awesome. And I think because they probably weren't sure whether this was going to last. And like when you see a mania like this was popping up, like, I mean, in crypto, we're used to seeing things like this. Like DeFi Summer lasted for a summer. That's why we now call it DeFi Summer, is that it wasn't years and years of like recursive food coin.
Well, it was also the autumn.
It was, Sure. Okay. Yeah. It was a span of like 4 to 6 months, right? That until it totally died off, and it was no longer the dominant thing that was happening. The same thing happened with BRC20s. That there was like basically a season that BRC20s were a huge thing, and people thought, oh my God, maybe Bitcoin is going to be now this predominant place where people trade meme coins instead. And it just kind of, it had its moment and it died. And so I think the Solana leadership was probably just genuinely unsure of, if we go all in on this thing and we start endorsing it and talking about how great it is, and it just dies in a few months, we're going to look like fucking idiots. And we probably shouldn't do that. We should probably wait and see. And I think they're at the point now where they're just like, this is not going to go away. We should just go all in on this and make this core to our story that Solana is a meme coin chain. Now, all that being said, look, I fundamentally believe, and I've been saying this on the show now for well over a year, that I think the meme coin frenzy is not sustainable and it's going to eventually run out of steam, and there's going to be some rotation into another game. And the game is not going to be meme coins, it's going to be something else. I think Arjun from Paradigm posted something about this on Twitter that I
he
really
came back.
agreed with.
He disappeared tweeting for like 2 years. He came back.
Exactly. He was very quiet. It was quite a banger. It was quite a banger. And basically the way he described it was that, you think about a casino, like many people analogize Solana to like the world's biggest casino, or the casino in the sky, I think is the way that Jordy puts it, which I like quite a bit, or a Las Vegas in the sky. And this Las Vegas in the sky, if you think about it, the way that a casino is generally measured is, I can't remember what it is, like, return, basically the amount of money that a player expects to lose anytime they sit down at a casino. And casinos very carefully optimize this, right? It's like one of these things that, various different games, you might lose 10 cents on the dollar per hour, or 20 cents on the dollar per hour, or for a very, very fair game, maybe 1 to 2 cents on the dollar per hour. Like if you're playing roulette, you lose very little per hour versus if you're playing blackjack. So his point is that meme coins are getting worse and worse in the amount that they're extracting per hour. And as the doors are closing on the meme coin frenzy, you're incentivized to try to extract more and more, right? So like, David Portnoy basically going from, you remember, early, if you're Iggy Azalea, you're like, I'm going to create a community. And when you're David Portnoy, you're late in the meme coin cycle. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to partner with MVNO, and it's going to become valuable for fundamental reasons.
Okay, I have a fun question.
I'm dumping on you. Like, you eat that.
I have a fun question, which is, let's take some meme coins, some celebrity meme coins, and pick our favorite 2017 or 2016 ICOs that match them. So what is...
Can we do this for next time, so we have time to actually prepare good answers to this? Because I think if we have to do this on the spot, we're going to get horrible answers. But this is a great prompt.
I like the idea of comparing meme coins to ICOs. It's just like kind of a...
I like that idea too. But
I love
agree.
this.
We can bring this back.
Yeah, we should think about it. I won't be here.
Yeah, but the story of crypto is always that when it's happening, when the mania is happening, it feels impossible to say that it's going to end. Right? Like I did not have the balls to say that NFTs were going to die. Right? And obviously they didn't die, but they're like the speculative energy behind NFTs is mostly gone. When ICOs were happening, I did not have the balls to say that, like, at least not publicly. I may have thought it in my heart of hearts, but it's just like, you just can't fight it. It's just so big. It just eats everything. It just feels like this unstoppable force. And if you argue against it, you're just going to get swallowed in the noise.
Yeah,
that's
but
how
you know what I would say?
feel.
Actually, each time we have these trends in crypto, you can predict now. I mean, now obviously I can see this with the hindsight of having been through multiple of these, but like you kind of can predict that it's going to end soon when things get to this sort of Dave Portnoy level. Like there were some ICOs that, were just bonkers. And it's sort of like they kind of start off all idealistic, and it's like people who are really interested in the technology for what it can build. And then once they kind of like prove that this can work, then all the kind of more scammery type people, they get in on it because they're like, oh, I can get rich quick. And then you just have this like massive flood of all the get rich quick people. And so, like, I feel like this whole Dave Portnoy thing is, I wouldn't even call it a top signal. It's like, we've crested the hill now.
I want Portnoy to go on Unchained.
Great. We should have.
I would love to watch Laura. I would love to watch Laura interview Dave Portnoy.
Like even by now at this point in the conversation, I still don't even know what Barstool Sports is, and don't tell me. I have no interest.
You'd be the perfect host. You'd be the perfect.
This is why you would be. Exactly.
Laura, do you watch any sports?
No, I watch World Cups. I watch the Olympics. And I would call presidential debates sports in a way, but like those are probably the only things I watch. Okay, but by the way, I did remember my previous points about like ETH versus Sol, and I just wanted to
we
mention them.
We got to wrap on this because we're at an hour.
Yeah, I know.
Last point.
But like, I feel like it's not even just that Ethereum is at this existential point, but the fact of the matter is that like its edge over Solana was always that we're more decentralized. And for sure, like Ethereum is so decentralized, it's quite well, the Bitcoiners are going to hate me, but those two are probably the most decentralized of all the communities and chains. And, not going to lie, like, this criticism that we see from the Solana people about how the L2s have centralized a lot of the activity, like that is totally a valid criticism. And it's like ETH kind of gave away the one thing that it had. It opened itself up to that attack. And then, by the way, the other thing that I think is like kind of ironic and strange, frankly, is, and I hopefully this won't come across as like huge criticism because it's not like I don't respect what they're doing, but like, during that time of the angst, which is continuing, but, there was like a sort of fever pitch that it reached around like the foundation, there was this big announcement about Etherealize and like, ooh, they're going to like save Ethereum. And then, you find out, oh, they're just selling ETH to institutions. And it's like, okay, what's that going to do about all the actual problems? Because Wall Street, they're like the followers. But if the center of the activity is moving to a different community and different ecosystem, like that is a much bigger problem. Etherealize, that's not going to do anything to fix the fundamental problem. So that's why I was kind of just like, ooh, I don't know if it's looking good for Ethereum right now. And I hate
Laura,
to say
have you become a Solana baddie? I feel like that's kind of what's happening right now.
Wow.
I mean, no, it's more, I'm just
all right.
looking at this drama, wondering where it's going to go.
We got to wrap.
Wait, Laura, so are you telling us you're writing a book on Solana? Are you going to write a Solana book?
Wow,
no,
wow.
well,
it's quite a way to announce that, Laura.
Yeah, not at the moment, no plans. But
Coming 2026.
if anybody listening has
right.
information they want to send me about Solana, you can do that. My DM.
I feel like it's pretty transparent. You could figure out the Solana story is easy.
Okay, all right. Thanks everybody. Logging off.
Thanks
See you all.
everybody.